Hello everyone, my name is Lorenz. I'm making a YouTube channel just about my journey, about Hyperacusis, and I guess you could say this is just an introduction to the channel and a little about myself. So my first exposure to Hyperacusis, and if you don't know what Hyperacusis is, it's the pain version of Hyperacusis. I only have the pain version right now, but my first exposure was about 9 years ago when I was listening to music all the time. I would go to the gym and just blast music crazy loud in my ear. And one day I was just walking out of the gym and I noticed just pain in my ears. After a couple weeks, it went away. And then more exposures just throughout my years in life. Off and on, healing, damaging. Recently, my most recent one was at the theater. I was watching, I think it was Black Phone 2. It was so loud. I think the volume was cranked up to max in that theater, but my ears were just hurting. And then I went home, I played some Arc Raiders at like max volume, and then as soon as I stopped playing, I was just hit with this sense of almost a reminder. It was a reminder that, oh crap, I've had Hyperacusis. I've had this experience before and I took it for granted because I completely forgot I've been like battling this ear trauma for the past 9 years, but I was just like, so I guess you could say compliant, that I just didn't take those precautions, and now I'm suffering from it. And now my ears right now are very, very painful. I would say probably a constant 3 out of 10, sometimes 4, when I get off of work, and I'm still working, unfortunately. Where I live, I can't stop working. I have to keep working because I just got a new place, rent's expensive, and not working is not an option for me, unfortunately. So anyways, back to the story. I was compliant. I ended up hurting my ears. I immediately got off the video game. I immediately was just real. It was like I was like starstruck and just had all these flashbacks of how depressed I was when I had that Hyperacusis experiences. There's multiple Hyperacusis bouts in the past where I would just sit there with earbuds on all week, sometimes months. But this most recent one that I got at the theaters was very scary because I've never felt this kind of intensity before. It feels very, very painful, and the sensation, best way I could describe the sensation is it's like an aching, almost like if you ever had a tooth infection, it's like that kind of in both of your ears. It's an aching, pinching feeling. Sometimes it falls down to the jawline. I've been feeling it in my chin a little bit irritation, like it's been radiating down into my chin a little bit, and then also my neck. I've been feeling it also in my neck too. It's been very, very scary. It's a very scary experience because I'm sitting here and I'm like, how am I going to continue to work? I'm catastrophizing. How am I gonna continue living normally? So after I got this exposure, my most recent exposure, I knew this one was the worst one. This was the worst one, and I started panicking a little bit. I started immediately just looking online for cures, catastrophizing, looking at remedies, everything, and I started putting on my earbuds immediately. And I guess you could say this is just like it falls into that central sensitization where it's just like you're just so hyper-focused and that OCD is going. So immediately I just put on my earbuds, was trying to go to sleep, filled with anxiety, dread, and just absolute loneliness, because I just recently, like, I don't have any extension support. I don't have any pets. My most recent pet just passed away, so I'm still trying to get over that. Now I'm going through this, and it just feels like the whole world is just kind of collapsing on me. It's just the worst time too, because like I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do. And I was sitting in my bed, looking up cures and stuff, and buying a bunch of supplements, and I just realized that I've just made a mistake. I've overloaded my sensories, and this is the price I pay. I feel like us as modern humans, we're new to this. This is a upcoming problem as modern creatures in primitive bodies in a modern world with sounds and exposure and technology. It's just, it was just surreal, and it's just so new to everyone. It's just so new to the research community. There's no cure yet, there's no remedy. There's no, for example, I was at my doctor's appointment today, and I knew they weren't going to find anything, but I just wanted to see what their answer was. Surprisingly, my family medicine practitioner was actually familiar with hyperacusis, and that was the first time I heard that. But after talking to some audiologist specialists, not audiologist specialists, but ear specialists, they said unfortunately there's like no answer, because they could run me through tests, like hearing tests, but they already knew that was probably just going to cause more damage, just end up at a dead end anyways. Anyways, falling back to how I took myself for granted, and I was just sitting there. I just didn't know what to do. Didn't know what to do, and I guess you could say this is a very, very scary moment for me. Very lonely moment, very depressing moment. And I have some plans that I am going to start implementing in my life. First thing is my number one concern is my source of income, my work, my job. I'm going to see if I can get a quieter post. I'll see if I can work with my manager and see if I can get a quieter post. My second thing is, what am I going to do throughout my day? Because I used to just like play video games, watch movies, listen to music, work out. I don't know what I'm gonna do. Like, I socialized like at church and stuff, and I just couldn't go to last Sunday. I just couldn't go to mass because I don't want to damage my ears, so I'm already starting to cut off my social group, and I don't want to cut them off completely because I'm just going to be more alone. So I'm just trying to figure out what I'm going to do throughout my free time. And I'm going to start to plan out my day to help kind of deal with some inflammation naturally. I'm going to try my best to not get into any of the antidepressants, anti-anxiety, any anti-OCD stuff. I'm going to try everything I can first, naturally. I'm going to try to, I fasted before. I went from 220 to 140 doing intermittent fasting along with keto. So I felt really good doing that, so I'm gonna try to do some intermittent fasting. I'm gonna implement magnesium. I'm gonna take magnesium. I'm going to eat more healthier. And also I have some NAC coming in and cumin coming in that I'm gonna start be taking. Otherwise, during my free time, I'm gonna be wearing these earbuds right here. These are really comfortable, by the way. I wear these before I go to sleep, and I also wear one in my left ear, underneath my underneath my beanie at work. And sometimes when I'm doing the laundry and stuff, I'll double protection. I'll use these. I guess you could say this is a little bit of like a blessing in disguise, I guess you could say, because I've been just very, I guess you could say just very lazy, very dopamine hungry, ungrateful. You know, I feel like it's just a little bit of a sign because I've been just abusing, I guess you could say abusing, being very docile and just stagnant. It's a sign that I should probably just be grateful for the small things like reading, walking, nature. You know, I knew just sitting there playing video games all day, watching movies all day, and just like kind of neglecting my body is gonna catch up to me. Like I knew it was gonna happen. But I guess you could just say I just became lazy. I just didn't care. So I'm suffering the consequences of that. I'm also dealing with RCI, which is like repetitive stress injury in both my hands. But that's actually getting better. I'm using a plan called 1HP, but that's a totally different story. That's getting better. I still want to enjoy the small I still want to enjoy those things. I just don't want to abuse them. I don't know. My life is going to change. It's just a big wake-up call. And there's a lot to look into, a lot to learn, a lot to figure out. Anyways, that's my introduction. I appreciate you guys. You guys take care.